Hey there, and welcome back to our journey through Attitude is Everything by Jeff Keller. This is episode 4, titled Reframe Failure as Feedback. If you've ever been afraid to take a risk because of the possibility of failure, or if you've experienced setbacks that left you feeling defeated, this episode is for you. Today, we're going to flip the script on failure and show you how it's not the end of the road, it's actually a stepping stone to success. So, let's dive in. Failure is not final. Let me start with a bold statement. Failure is not something to fear, it's something to embrace. Why? Because failure is feedback. It's life's way of teaching you what doesn't work so you can figure out what does. Think about it. Every successful person has failed sometimes repeatedly before achieving greatness. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is how they respond to failure. Here's a story that perfectly illustrates this point. Sally Jessy Raphael, the famous talk show host, was fired from her first job as a TV reporter after just 1 week. 1 week. Can you imagine how crushing that must have felt? But instead of letting that failure define her, she used it as motivation to improve. She went on to build an incredible career, hosting one of the most popular talk shows in history. Her secret? She saw failure not as a dead end, but as a detour. So, here's the big question. How do you reframe failure in your own life? Let's break it down. The lessons hidden in failure. When you face a setback or make a mistake, it's easy to beat yourself up or spiral into negativity. But what if you shifted your perspective? What if you asked yourself, what can I learn from this experience? Every failure carries a lesson, and often, it's a lesson you wouldn't have learned any other way. End quote. For example, let's talk about Benjamin Roll, a man who failed the bar exam 12 times before finally passing on his 13th attempt. Imagine the frustration and self-doubt he must have felt after each failure. But instead of giving up, he kept asking himself, what went wrong this time? And how can I improve? That mindset eventually led him to success. His persistence paid off, not because he was naturally gifted, but because he refused to quit. Keller emphasizes that adversity reveals hidden strengths and teaches valuable lessons. Here are 4 key ways failure benefits you. It builds resilience. Overcoming challenges makes you emotionally stronger. When the next hurdle appears, you're better equipped to handle it. It sparks growth. Failure forces you to adapt, learn new skills, and develop strategies you wouldn't have considered otherwise. It clarifies your path. Sometimes, failure tells you that you're heading in the wrong direction, or that you need to adjust your approach. It keeps you humble. Success without struggle can lead to arrogance. Failure reminds you that growth requires effort and humility. How to embrace failure. Now, let's get practical. How do you actually embrace failure and turn it into fuel for success? Here are some actionable steps. Shift your mindset. Instead of saying, I failed, say, I'm learning. This simple reframing changes how you perceive setbacks. Ask the right questions. After a failure, ask yourself, what went wrong? What can I do differently next time? How can I grow from this experience? Celebrate small wins. Even in failure, look for things you did well. Did you try something new? Did you push past fear? Celebrate those efforts, their progress. Keep moving forward. Don't dwell on mistakes. Learn the lesson, then focus on your next step. Remember, success is built on countless small actions, not one big leap. Real-life examples of failure turn success. To bring this idea to life, let's look at some inspiring examples. First, consider Dave Bruno, a man who sold Success Gold Cards, a product designed to help people achieve their goals. At first, no one wanted to buy them. He heard no over and over again. But instead of giving up, Dave decided to double his failure rate. He reasoned that if he got twice as many rejections, he'd also get twice as many yeses. And guess what? It worked. His persistence turned his struggling business into a thriving one. Another example is Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx. Before she became a billionaire entrepreneur, She faced rejection after rejection when pitching her idea for footless pantyhose. Retailers didn't understand the concept, and investors weren't interested. But Sarah kept going, believing in her vision despite the setbacks. Today, Spanx is a household name, and Sarah credits her success to her willingness to fail forward. The power of persistence. One of my favorite quotes from this chapter comes from Henry Ford. Failure is only the opportunity to more intelligently begin again. Isn't that powerful? Failure isn't the opposite of success, it's part of the process. Keller shares another gem. Success is going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. That's right, it's not about avoiding failure. It's about staying committed to your goal, no matter how many times you stumble along the way. Think about it. If you knew that every failure brought you one step closer to success, would you be willing to fail more often? Of course you would. In fact, Keller suggests doubling your failure rate. Why? Because the more times you try, the more opportunities you create for breakthroughs. All right, here's your homework for the next week. Reflect on past failures. Take a few minutes to think about a recent setback. What did you learn from it? How can you apply that lesson moving forward? Adopt a new mantra. Whenever you face failure, remind yourself, this is feedback, not failure. Repeat it until it becomes second nature. Take one bold action. Identify something you've been hesitant to try because of fear of failure. Then, take one small step toward it even if it feels uncomfortable. Celebrate effort. Acknowledge your courage for trying, regardless of the outcome. Progress happens when you keep showing up. These small actions will help you rewire your brain to see failure as a friend rather than an enemy. Trust me, the shift in perspective will change your life. Before we wrap up, let me leave you with a challenge. Over the next 7 days, commit to viewing every setback as a lesson. Whether it's a missed opportunity, a rejected proposal, or even a minor mistake, pause and ask yourself, what can I learn from this? And remember, failure doesn't define you or response to it does. Keep failing forward, and watch how quickly you move toward your goals. Next up, Chapter 5, where we'll explore the transformative power of visualization. Until then, embrace failure and let it guide you to success. One last thing before we go. Think about someone you admire who's achieved great success. Chances are they've faced failure head-on. What can you learn from their example? How can you channel their resilience into your own journey? Until next time, stay persistent and keep shining.